parent is taking their child to a doctor before either a sick visit or a checkup. When your child is sick, you take them to the doctor to get a medication, and then they're better. When they go for a checkup, they may be perfectly fine, but end up getting a shot. According to the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, vaccinations use your child's own immune system to build immunity and make them stronger. With that in mind, there are 3 different types of vaccines that I'm going to talk about and distinctive ways of identifying them. By understanding the different types and how the immune system reacts to these, you'll be able to understand how the body makes itself stronger. First, I will discuss the basic components of vaccines. Then I will discuss the main differences between attenuated, inactivated, and toxoid vaccines. According to the World Health Organization and Andy Brunning, a chemistry professor in the UK, all vaccines contain the form of an antigen, antibiotic, stabilizer, preservative, trace components, and every now and then adjuvants. The World Health Organization describes an antigen as, quote, components derived from the structure of a disease-causing organism, end quote. According to Brunning, antibiotics are added to prevent bacterial contamination and removed after manufacture, but trace amounts will still remain because it happens in the lab. The World Health Organization reports the stabilizers are, quote, used to help the vaccine maintain its effectiveness during storage, end quote. To quote Brunning, preservatives such as thimerosal are used to prevent bacterial and fungal contamination of the vaccine after its manufacture. This is particularly important for the so-called multi-dose vaccines where multiple injections or doses are drawn from the same rubber cap vial, end quote. Trace components are anything left in the vaccine after it's manufactured, such as formaldehyde, according to Brunning. The World Health Organization describes adjuvants as a substance that increases immune response, therefore making the vaccine more effective. Now that you know what's in a vaccine, I will explain how vaccines are administered. The World Health Organization currently reports that there are 5 methods of administering vaccines. The first is intramuscular, in which the needle goes directly through the layers of the skin, layers of fat, and directly into the muscle. Subcutaneous vaccinations are inserted into that fatty layer or subcutaneous. Intradermal vaccinations are inserted into the very top layer of skin, which actually with children is probably the most hard vaccine to give because their skin is so fragile. Intranasal vaccinations are administered into the nasal passage just as a typical nasal spray such as Flonase or something like that would be administered. Oral vaccinations are liquids that are dripped into the child's mouth through a small vial approximately this size. Now that the vaccination has entered the child's body, I will describe the immune response. According to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, the immune process begins with the macrophages. Macrophages eat the microbe that the antigen is on and carry the antigen back to the lymph nodes where lymphocytes take over. Lymphocytes are described as T cells or B cells. The cytotic T cells attack any infected cells and kill them with the chemical release. Helper T cells work in the background by directing what all other lymphocytes are going to be doing. B cells are responsible for the antibody release. According to PBS NOVA, the B cells replicate into an army of cells that are ready to attack, and they shoot an antibiotic at the antigen and mark it. And if the antibiotic doesn't kill it, the point of marking is for macrophages to come and eat it. And after the threat has been eliminated, some cells, T or B, will become memory cells. That way they can go throughout the bloodstream constantly to prevent another sickness or kill the antigen if the antigen ever arises again. Now that you have a better understanding of how vaccines work in general, it's important to be able to distinguish the 3 types. The first type I'm going to talk about is attenuated. According to the National Institute of Infectious Disease, attenuated vaccines are made of a live but weakened microbe. The Institute also reports that microbes are weakened by using them in cells in which the microbe doesn't grow well. According to Eric Richardson, there are other ways that it can be weakened, such as formaldehyde. The Institute reports that live vaccines are most beneficial because they provide the best immune response, because they're using a live virus, which is closest to the real thing. But this places a limit on people with immune deficiencies who can't get live vaccines. And this is a huge problem because some of your major vaccines are live. The Institute also reports that these vaccines must stay refrigerated to remain effective, which poses issues in transporting them overseas or to third world countries, because we can transport them there, but they might not have the means to keep them refrigerated. The World Health Organization lists the rotavirus, measles, yellow fever, and oral polio vaccines as live attenuated vaccines. So while attenuated vaccines use live viruses, inactivated viruses take a slightly different approach. According to the National Institute of Infectious Diseases, inactivated vaccines are made of dead viruses. The Institute reports that dead viruses do not provide a strong immune response because the virus is dead and your body is normally able to eliminate the threat very quickly, which is the reason that you'll need multiple dosed or so-called booster shots to be able to get full immunity. According to the Institute, the viruses are killed by chemicals, heat, or radiation. The World Health Organization expands on the chemical description by saying formaldehyde is the most common used to kill the viruses. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases report that inactivated vaccines normally don't need to be refrigerated because the vaccine is already dead, so there's really no need for it to be refrigerated because that's what keeps it alive, which makes them very easy to transport and makes them very accessible to everyone. One conflict determined by the Institute is individuals living in third world countries or those having limited access to health care because they may not be able to get these booster shots or all the required doses. The World Health Organization lists the inactivated polio vaccine and the whole cell pertussis vaccine as inactivated vaccines. We've talked about manipulating viruses to enhance immunity. Now we're going to talk about manipulating toxins. According to the World Health Organization, toxoid vaccines are made of a non-poisonous toxin. The organization also reports that the vaccines are made by removing the toxicity from bacteria secretions. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases reports that toxins are detoxified using formalin, which is a mixture of formaldehyde and distilled water. This vaccine is also more efficient by adding aluminum or calcium salts as adjuvants. It needs an adjuvant because it's not a direct virus, it's not a direct threat. The bacteria isn't in the vaccine, so your body really isn't fighting anything but something that wouldn't affect them, unless it was live, which is what the problem would be. Although the adjuvants increase immune response, it's still possible that multiple doses will be required because of the fact that we're not fighting the bacteria, we're fighting the deadened secretions. This type of vaccine is considered very safe because it contains a toxoid and not the actual disease. And this is also a very stable vaccine because it does not change in light, humidity, or temperature. The World Health Organization listed tetanus and diphtheria vaccines as toxoid vaccines. In conclusion, vaccines have been in use since Edward Jenner's discovery of cowpox to prevent smallpox and are growing more complex by the day. Scientists are working every day to make vaccines more widely available around the globe. They're also working on developing these vaccines in these ways that I described and even more ways. Now that you know the difference between the vaccines and how they work, you know how the body makes itself stronger. So the next time your child goes to the doctor feeling perfectly fine and gets a shot, you'll know how a small injection can make a lifetime of difference.